microphone on that first pew. Turn around, Yuri. Turn around. Look on that first pew. There you go. That's for you.
And then the second one is, what are some challenges and opportunities that require addressing in our community currently?
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
So that means
I'm with You Black. I know you guys heard Winter Storm perform. So she asked me to be a part of the Utah Black Artists Collective. So we go and we perform pieces that we've written everywhere. So it's an honor to be here today. I get to share a little bit with you guys. I'll share two pieces with y'all. The first one is called 1002. It's about an experience that I lived. I was born in Boston. I grew up in Haiti until I was about 5, and then I moved to Layton, Utah, of all places. And I've been there for about 20 years until recently I moved down to the Riverton area. But up in the Davis district, I don't know if you guys were aware or followed the news when they were investigated for racism and all sorts of things going on there. So it was kind of tough sometimes, and this is just a story of something that happened while I lived up there. So this is 1002. Do you have a ride? When will you be home? Who will be there? Will you be inside? Boy, best watch your tone. Grab a coat. Brush your hair. I could recite these lines like clockwork before I was ever old enough to care or understand. I could walk wherever I was needed, and the weather was nice too. And why do I need a coat if you want me to stay inside? My mind twisted these musings round like my father's office chair he would sit on while he besieged me with these questions, until finally I would say, if you don't want me to go, just say so. And as I turned to leave, I would hear, just don't be late. I was always late. If I was told 10 was when I had to be sat back in my room, I probably wouldn't leave the function till around about 10:02, and I always knew that meant I'd be kept up to have my self-worth be devoured and berated by my parents who hated when I was even 1 second past the hour. Power hungry and controlling, I would curse at them every time. I can't count how many times my parents left me black and blue for curfew's sake. I always sent a text if I'd be late, and I never did anything that could have landed me in jail. However, without fail, my parents blew the situation out of proportion, and I never knew why. Until one day, I was on my way to a boxing lesson with a good friend who had offered to drive. We got pulled over a few blocks from our destination, and without hesitation, I placed my palms on the dash even though I was on the passenger side. My friend had his license ready to go, and after letting the officer know the registration was in the glove box, the cop replied that I provide what he needed. Within fewer seconds than fingers I had fumbling, I felt a shift, heard a mumbling, but my senses denied that I caught what was said. Rather wide-eyed, I spied out the side of my head that my guy had his hand at his side where a weapon so deadly was untucked and made ready, and in that moment, time froze. And I could hear every word as if that office chair was spinning just outside my window. Do you have a ride? When will you be home? Who will be there? Will you be inside? Boy, best watch your tone. Grab a coat. Brush your hair. It's crazy that all this time my parents might have been worried my hair was too nappy, my outfit too ghetto, that I might get snappy with the ones holding the metal. Maybe time froze for my parents too each time the clock hit 10:02 and my black ass still wasn't home. Maybe they lived a lifetime of parental distress that couldn't be solved by a text on the phone. Maybe boy watch your tone was meant as a reminder that you're never too grown for a bullet shot by someone power hungry and controlling who uses the ruse of traffic patrolling to commit assault and or murder in broad daylight. Maybe the thought of their child shot in a car when no law was broken, no bail was needed, no case was pleaded, no casket crafters could mask the disaster that was once their child's beautiful face was too much to take. Maybe sometimes 1 second past the hour is 1 second too late, and the difference between I'm home and the headlines of the local news stations. Maybe my parents preferred that I mumbled hurtful words all black and blue in my bed than for me to be battered and bruised in the menacing hue of the blue and the red. Maybe riots and news feeds can raise awareness, but not the dead. In that one pivotal moment, as my hands slowly withdrew from the glove box and returned to the dash, and my senses caught up with my surroundings to see the cop slowly relax and replace his weapon to where it was normally at, I caught my reflection in the car's side mirror. My hair was tidy. My clothes were wrinkle-free, my jacket was on, and my tone was calm when I said to myself, I'll be home at 10. Thank you. And then this next piece is called Built by Blacks, just an ode to this country we live in. So I'll just go ahead and start that. America, the beautiful, the land of the free, home to opportunity, promise, and above all else, freedom. A kingdom where no king will sit on the throne and no unturned stone can be told that it doesn't matter. A land where whatever you're after is placed within reach, where whatever you seek always seems to be ripe for the taking, as if someone was making it easy for you. And that's true in a number of ways. When slaves paved the way to not only their graves but their masters' successes, the Liberty Bells that rang in fierce battle sounded awfully like chains on black ankles that rattled and creaked when, like cattle and sheep, the oppressed and opposed were impressed with the load of raising this nation up onto its feet, only then to be told that their seat had been pulled from the table of equals. Their meat would be cold and they'd eat only sequels and scraps or dig through the trash to find mold for no other reason besides being black. And with that, the white men, whose faces and names are revered to this day, among whom was commonly practiced the keeping of captives to actively be at their bidding, they were granted a title so fitting: Founding Fathers of the Land of the Free. Well, then I guess that makes slavery the mother who through labor gave birth to the country we know as the US of A, who still to this day pretends there is balance between black and white, pretend that this nation back then somehow, and most certainly not now, wasn't built on the backs of the blacks that they scarred. Pretend that the millions of folk unjustly behind bars who work for no pay are not slaves to this day to a system that uses the colored for gain. Pretend that disdain does not exist as police aim their weapons at dark upraised fists that are seeking respect. Pretend they don't know that kneeling on necks or shooting at innocent sleepers in beds are only a speck of the brutal injustices people of color have come to expect, not only from criminal cops, but also from those they elect and all but beg to protect them. America, the beautiful, is upheld by the dutiful patience of the very same people it's attempting to chain. Inequality is so deeply ingrained in the racist foundation of this slave-built nation that it's almost as if at this point it can't change. But it can, because we can. Thank you.
Are we supposed to follow that?
Somebody on that end.
Thanks, Yuri.
I am ready to pass the mic.
Right? He should drop it right there. My name's Jason Lee, and for 23 years I was a journalist, covering a variety of things, not the least of which was social justice issues. I was a podcaster for 5 years, and in 2020 I won an award from the Public Relations Society of America's Utah chapter as Communicator of the Year for my efforts on a podcast regarding social justice. I wish I'd have known him then. That was a very fine 2 pieces. I will be in touch with you. I am joined today by 3 people who I respect a great deal, who have, I believe, some great ideas on how we can describe what we're going to talk about today as the state of Black Utah. And that's a broad topic, right? So what we're going to try to do is focus on a few things. That is education, social issues, and economic issues. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to speak to us today, starting with Dr. Sidney.
Let me say this. I have to give Yuri Young respect. And I am almost weakened that in 2023 that we have someone that young standing before us who is that in tune and understanding not just his plight today, but the plight of his ancestors.
His eloquence.
I am proud and saddened in the same breath. But what I will tell you, when I said pass the mic, I am confident, as much as our young people are not given the respect that I believe they are due, I am confident that we can pass the mic and pass the baton, and we will see generations continue to change and grow and impact and make a difference in this world. So I have to start there.
Can't argue with that.
So when we talk about Utah, I will say this, I will go back to you were young, the future is bright. But there are things that are before us today that are challenging, just as they were with our ancestors, but they're a bit different. And I can look to my right here and I can look out in the audience and understand that there are people who are committed, determined to make things better for the next generation, because we don't do it for us. And we can't do it for right now. It has to be so that tomorrow can be different. And we're a testament today that our ancestors did that. And so I take an economic approach. I am the president and CEO of the Utah Black Chamber of Commerce and the recently appointed director of the Minority Business Development Agency for the state of Utah, which is the first one ever to exist in Utah. The Minority Business Development Agency has been around for 53 years, and there's never been representation for that organization here in the state of Utah. And I assure you, with God as my head and my lead, I will represent you well. There has to be an economic difference. We are here, we are relevant. And what's important for me is that our Black businesses and leaders are vital to the economic ecosystem. And that is what I am driven by. And that's what I'm determined to do to ensure that that is what happens.
Thank you. Dr. Shorter? Stanley? Fair enough.
I'm on. Good afternoon, everybody. Come on now, give me a little more energy. Come on, good afternoon, everybody. All right, that's what I like to hear. So Betty Sawyer, I am founder, director of Project Success Coalition, a local nonprofit. We've been around for 34 years in the state of Utah, promoting health and wellness, education, and cultural arts. I'm also president of the Ogden branch of the NAACP. I just wanted to say, often we're hearing in presentations land acknowledgments, acknowledging the folk that were on this land prior to Mormon settlement and all of that. But I want to start by giving a people acknowledgement for all of you, for all of my elders. When I moved to Utah, I'm from the country. And so your parents say, when you go someplace, find the church and the NAACP, okay? And so that's what I set out to do. It took me a while, you all. I looked for 2 weeks trying to find a Black person. And I was looking, riding up and down the street looking. So for those of you that have come later, you were blessed, because it took me a while. And one evening ran into a beautiful Black woman at the grocery store, Smith's Food King, Mary Green. And she says, come to Calvary. And it's like, a Black church, because I had looked in the phone book for churches too. And it had all of these listings of Latter-day. I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. She said, where's just the church list? That's what I'm looking for. And my sister and I and brother-in-law, we walked into Calvary in September 1975. I thought I had died and went to heaven. I was like, I see Black people. So after that, I felt I would be okay. I connected with community, and then, found the NAACP, Miss Alberta Henry, Bonnie Burley, Mr. Dooley, all of those folk that have helped lay the foundation for the things that I do today. So I just wanted to acknowledge all of our elders. Look at you, give them a big hand. And we'll get into the other stuff later.
Good afternoon. Oh, see, someone had already coached you on how to respond to a call. Good afternoon. All right, that's much better. I am Reverend Stanley Ellington. I am an associate pastor up at True Vine Baptist Church. I have been in the state of Utah since August of 2000. My initial plan was not the same as God's plan. I had no idea that I would be in Utah because I was stationed in Germany. I'm retired Air Force after 28 years of service. I had planned on retiring from the Air Force when I was in Spangdahlem, Germany, but I had a few people say, nope, it's not time for you to go yet. So here I am, still 23 years later in the state of Utah. It is an amazing place. There's a lot of opportunity for the Black community. Unfortunately, we seem to not want to come together. I have been a part of this community for some time. I have been embraced in this community, but yet and still, if you're not homegrown, there seems to be a difference that takes place. But yet, I appreciate the work that all of the elders have done. I would like to first say thank you to Ms. Betty Sawyer for at least birthing the organization of the Utah Black Roundtable. I have become the chair in January. I have 2 years of work to do, and I hope to continue to be able to set a foundation so that we can do something that's going to change the social status that we have or the social engagement that we have in this state. I hope to be able to do something about the economics of all of us. I hope that we're able to do something that's going to make a change in the educational system all the way from K all the way through secondary, all the way up through colleges. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. We're starting to get more leaders in positions of responsibility. Young people, we need for you to skill yourself so that you can become these leaders. There's so much that needs to be done. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to be down at the Utah Valley University, and I had a chance to tell some students that were doing social work what they need to do to get engaged. First, they felt like they were powerless. I had to let them know that they do have power. I had to let them know that there are opportunities for them to be able to make a change in whether it's their own community or other communities. To me, we have too many people speaking for the Black community. Black leaders, we need to step up and do our work. I'll stop right there.
Before I continue, so I've been here since 2001, and I will tell you, Betty Sawyer has been doing this work of supporting and lifting us since the 70s, and we have no better advocate, an example of how we should behave and the kinds of attitudes and efforts we should make to make our community better. So I just want to say thank you for that. So just kind of to begin our discussion, as I described, it's kind of a broad topic we were given, so I want to give everybody an opportunity to kind of offer their opinions and their perspective. So from our perspective, each individually, from your perspective, what is the state currently of Black Utah? Dr. Shorty?
I'll start with currently in our state legislature, there is an assault on the existence of Black people in the state of Utah. But what that does for me is help me to recognize and embrace how valuable we really are. We don't try to put aside or oppress nothing. That's not what we do. So I like to look at it from a position of understanding who we really are, and that we understand that collectively we are a force. We may be small in number, and I am a transplant here, and anyone who has heard me say anything about Utah is that I came from Louisiana. There are more Black people in the zip code that I came from than in the state of Utah. But from the Black perspective, there is more impact and there is more great work going on right here in Utah, and don't let anybody tell you any different. Don't let anybody tell you any different. It's not perfect, but it is getting the attention of those who we have given power. But understanding we had power to give. If we have power to give, we have power to use. And we have to use it to our own benefit. And so we have to remain resilient in understanding who we are, what power we have, and how to best use it to elevate all of us. I'll stop there because I want to hear some wisdom.
So, Reverend?
I'm afraid to speak my mind. I would say that the state of Utah is less than desirable because we are being held back. For whatever reason, we're being held back. I say that our state is less than desirable according to what people are saying, but not according to what we believe. So how do we make a change in what people say that is undesirable, but yet we should be using our voice to show that we are desirable? What I hear and what I read and what I try to understand is, like Dr. Schroeder said, we have a power and folks are afraid of us. Why do they have to be afraid of us? We haven't threatened anybody. Really, what they have actually done, which they don't realize, is that they have caused us to be twice as smart as they are, twice as energetic as they are, twice as determined to make something happen than they are. So here it is, we have the ability to make these changes. We can see throughout this nation that black people are on the rise. We're not trying to take anything from anybody that doesn't belong to us. So here we are looking for a place to play. There was a lot of conversation a few years back that was led by Project Success. Ms. Betty Sawyer was having conversations about the white privilege. So during those conversations, I would have an opportunity to ask a few people, here it is, you have all of this resource, you're having it to where it's going to waste, but would you be willing to let somebody have it? Most folks are saying no, they would not. We're not trying to take what they have, we're just trying to take what belongs to us. I'm not looking for a mule and 40 acres because that's never gonna come to fruition, but yet and still we use it as a piece of hope, thinking that they're gonna give us something. I'm here to tell you, it's not gonna be given to us. We're gonna have to make our own. We're gonna have to make a way to have the things that we need to have. And that's why today, as we're talking about the social status, the economic status, and our educational system, I am angry that they have to have the Department of Justice come down and tell the Davis School District that what they have done is outright egregious. But yet and still, we have people in this state trying to say that they don't appreciate the fact that the government has come into their place. And when they allow that voice to continue to go on, I had to write an email to the assistant superintendent, which I hadn't told you about. I had to let that superintendent know that don't let those people that are saying that they don't appreciate the government being in your business or our business. If you do, you're going to erase the work that the Department of Justice has just told you to fulfill. I'm going to stop right there.
Thank you. The state of Black Utah, how do you feel about your position and what's going on around you today? Do we feel we're better? If I look on an individual level, I make more money than my parents ever made, went further in school than they ever went, was able to buy a home sooner than they were able to buy a home. But guess what? It's not about me, it's about us. I come from an Afrocentric perspective. All of the work I do, I try to build upon those principles of the village, that we brought with us from Africa, that our parents told us that we had to do, things we had to look after one another, our next door neighbors. Black folk didn't even have telephones when I grew up, okay? Every now and then there was somebody. But if I acted up 4 or 5 blocks away, my mom knew before I got home, okay? No phone. Like, how she know that? That was us. That was our community, okay? And now we don't even know our neighbors. Half the time we don't even speak to each other. Do you know how often I have to stop? I work in higher ed. I retired from that. I would have to stop young black men and women and make them speak to me when it's only 5 of us on the campus. You know what I'm saying? It's like, did I look that bad? I fixed my hair today. Why aren't you looking at me? And they were like, I said, look. And I would let them know, I do not want you walking around on this campus and not acknowledge each other. Because that's one of the first steps of us shrinking back and thinking we have no power. You have the power, okay? You tell yourself, I got the power. Ain't just James Brown, I got the power, okay? The fact that we're still here. Tell me somebody else that could have gone through all of this madness and craziness, whether it's not being able to read and write, being allowed to do that legally, not being paid for your work for 400 years. All of the things that have been thrown at us, we've overcome that. We didn't come through it unscathed. So that's what my message to us today is. We got to get back to the community. We can't be stuck on myself, me, mine, and we can't do that. That's not who we are, and that does not benefit us. We have to work together. I can recall people's electricity, might have been ours, turned off. But guess what happened? They strung extension cords together, okay, to the next house, because we cared about each other. We knew that our success was interdependent on each other. And now we act like we did it by ourselves. Is that a joke? I didn't get here by myself. I got here on the backs, the sweat and tears on everybody that went before me. And so my job is to make sure that I challenge us to come together as community, to work on these issues together so that we can celebrate together. Because when you get a house, I'm gonna be dancing to, oh, did you hear? She got a house, or he got this. We're gonna celebrate together. But the state of Black Utah is not gonna get better collectively until we work together. Hence, a Utah Black Roundtable and a Black agenda so we can check some things off. We're all working in our own spaces, but we see major progress when we can work together, okay? Thank you.
I need to make a clarification. When I said that our conditions or our state is deplorable, I should have told you that I was looking at some data. Every time you look at data, the African American community is ranked number 8 out of 8 ethnic groups. That's why I say our condition is deplorable. I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier. When you look at the data, when it talks about rental property, guess what? We're ranked number 1. So to me, there's a possibility of increasing or decreasing the rentalship into home ownership. That's why what I meant to tell you in the beginning about the state of how we are considered as deplorable. I apologize.
Thank you. Well, actually, you kind of lead into a good point, though, Reverend. So the next question I was going to ask you, we know that this is all collective. This is not any individual. You can't really, you have to judge how all of us are doing, not just a certain segment. And the state of Black Utah is part of the entire state of Utah. We are not a monolith. We want to, everybody wants to be a part of a collective success. Stanley mentioned that right now, there are opportunities, it seems, go from being a rentor to an owner. So my question to you, Dr. Shorter, as a person involved in the business community, what are some of the opportunities you see that we could take advantage of to help lift us going forward?
I'll start with the word you continue to hear is collective. That's critically important. We come from a people with DNA about the collective. It's just who we are, collective and community. I'll give you something specific, and Miss Betty can attest to this. I called her about a month ago, and I said, Miss Betty, have we as black people ever gone to the state of Utah and asked them, because we have to ask through the system, for appropriations? And she said, yeah, because you go to your, before you step out there, if you don't hear anything else in this story, before you step out there, you gotta get some history, you gotta understand to really be able to make decisions for strategies moving forward. I needed to understand what that looked like. And although it looked different for Miss Betty, still the same structure. The structure has not changed. But what I can tell you is that, and she gave me the amounts that were actually asked for. Well, I also understand the landscape of business for black businesses here in the state of Utah and most throughout the US. Mostly challenged by access to affordable capital, barriers, biases, all of those things. And the Utah Black Chamber developed a program called the Financial Capacity Program. And the program is such that it assesses the financial health of our members' businesses. And once we do that assessment and we understand what you need to really move your business forward and be vital to the economic ecosystem, we said that we will pay for that capacity for those businesses for at least 6 months. So if you need an accountant, we're gonna pay for that. If you need a CPA, we're gonna pay for that. If we see you need a tax attorney, we're gonna pay for that. But after the applications started coming in, we had a funder that said we're gonna support this for 3 years. Well, 3 years of funding would be gone on the first round of applications. So I said, I believe the state of Utah needs to invest in black businesses that are contributing to the economics here. I went, our member here and sister, Sandra Hollins, sponsored that appropriations. We sat in front of that committee and eyes glazed over. Because with a boldness, I asked them for $1.5 million with the language of intent that it was specifically for black businesses. I'm going back next year. And I'm gonna go back the next year because our businesses will still be here. They will still be contributing to the economic system here, but at a minimal level. And we are going to increase that. One of the things you said, Miss Betty, and I say it all the time, and yet we are still here. There is nothing that has been thrown at us, done to us, and done through us that we have not, we didn't just survive it, we excelled. We have made chitlins a delicacy.
You can't even get some, sis.
We have made trash a treasure. That's how we're built. That's who we are. And one of the things, I always say this, validation is for parking. Validation is for parking. We don't need to be validated. We have endured, we have survived, we have thrived. And it's not a matter of deserving, it is just who we are because we are still doing the work. We're still doing the work. I'm from the South. I'm not gonna speak for anybody in other parts of the country because sometimes we try to disassociate. Oh, I'm not from the South. Okay, I give you that. But I'm from the South. My ancestors walked to the north in the dark. No resources, nothing. They didn't know what they were walking to, but they knew what they were walking away from. And that's what we need to clearly understand. Even if we don't know exactly where we're going, we know what we don't want, and we're working to ensure that we do it in a manner that it is different for the generations ahead.
Thank you very much. Ms. Betty, can I ask you kind of a similar question? Do you see opportunities currently, or are there challenges, some of the opportunities you'd like to see us take advantage of and maybe move us forward again in any of the ways we talk about socially, economically, or educationally?
Definitely. I always say, one of our former presidents, I won't shout him out, but say we must open our doors to opportunity, but we must equip those minds to walk through those doors. And for me, that's what kept me in Utah, frankly. I was ready to leave every other week. But doors of opportunity opened, and I walked through those doors. I tell my kids and others, do it afraid. It's not that I wasn't afraid. I'm the only one in the room. It's like, okay, Mom, you told me, put my chest out, hold my head up. No one knows what's in your pocket unless you tell them. So I carried that with me. And so the opportunities are here, but we must have the courage to take advantage of it, not worrying about what other people are saying and all of that. But when we walk through that door, we can't walk alone. And that's my thing. When we walk through, we got to prepare a place for others to be able to come through those doors as well. It's not just about me. I think back, I served as director of the governor's office for a couple of Bangor and Leavitt, and I went to them. Well, first of all, like you said, do the research. There was a black gentleman that worked in the Department of Community and Economic Development, and I already knew him from Job Corps, Jerry Bond. My first day on the job, I walked straight to his office. Jerry, tell me what this stuff is all about. Lay it out, what's going on? And one of the things he told me, he says, Betty, I need you to write things down. I need you to make a plan and present the plan. He says, your predecessors, they've all come in talking, but no one has written some things out. I said, okay, I could write. I went to school. The next thing he said, look at what department we're in. So we were in community and economic development, housing, business, international affairs, tourism, all of those things. He says, so I don't want you to bring me no social agenda items. I'm like, what you talking about? He said, you better bring something to the table that ties in with business and economic development. I said, okay. So one of the things we were working on, being in Utah with a few of us, is bringing more conferences and conventions to the state, because I'm sitting in there listening to other people working for the state saying that for every visitor that come, you can count it up, $200 a person times 100 people. So I used that formula to go in, and I called it Marketing and Advertising Program, MAP, and said, okay, we want to bring Gospel Music Workshop of America to Utah. There's about 500 to 800 people that'll come, and I need $10,000 to help support them while they're here. Guess what? It got approved. Nobody had asked, nobody had written it out, and nobody used their language. So I started using their language. And I think if we use those same strategies today, I went back, the governor was having young achievers, recognizing high school and college students that had businesses. Some of them had like ice cream shops. I'm like, that ain't their business. We know them parents helped set them up. What is this? Wasn't a black student getting an award for the 2 years that I saw this? I said, okay, something's wrong here. So I went back to my colleagues. I said, look, we got to add a component to just get our kids in the room so they can see that these kids are getting $25,000 first place, $15,000 second place, and $5,000 third place for businesses that somebody else helped them put together, but saying it was theirs, okay? And so I said, let's do young achievers. So we got the governor, we put together a little program and said, we'll call it Ethnic Young Achievers, and if they're doing well academically, doing community service, whatever the case may be, we're gonna have them apply, be recognized, and be in the same room with these other students so they could see the possibilities. Went back to the governor and said, look, I don't see nobody that look like me in state government. Where are the people at? And we're always pushing that issue around employment and hiring. So I put together a plan, an internship program in state government, because I recognized they were hiring from within. We didn't get a chance because we weren't already there. So it's like, how did we get there? I went to Mortar Pool one day, And the guy that was cleaning my car, he said, "Ooh, I just started today." I said, "Well, how you get a job?" He said, "My uncle working here, and he called me from Idaho." I said, "Oh, no. This is how the job market go in Utah." So I had to go back to my office again and write up another program for minority internship program. Sat with Governor Bangerter. I said, "Look, we need to do this. I need your support." He said, "If you add women, Betty, you can do it." Okay, add women. It's black women. So, put the program together. It didn't stay long because once he left out the governorship, it was gone. But opportunities are here. And like I said, we have to do it afraid, walk through those doors, and make sure we take someone with us.
I'm gonna, I know Eddie, he's running somewhere. He wants me to kind of stay on time here. So I'm gonna have Reverend Ellington, please offer your thoughts on this one, and then we'll come and kind of close out with the last one.
I can make mine a closing comment.
Okay.
I just heard that there was doors to be opened, doors to be built. I heard that there's opportunity to go through it. The Utah Black Roundtable has an opportunity for you. You can walk through this door and it's very easy. There's a goal to recruit at least 30 to 50 new members by June 2023. I just counted 43 people in this room. Can I get your membership? All right, I need your name and your phone number because if you don't give it to me, I can't collect. No, but seriously, I need to collect your name and number, those of you that would like to become a member of the organization because we need to build capacity. We need to get some work done. Thank you.
Lastly, Dr. Shorter, your thoughts on what we can do to help, again, continue her work. How do we continue to lift ourselves to become more of a community of impact in the years ahead?
I would start with understanding, I'll go back to understanding who we are, the value that we have. And I think sometimes that's lost on us. And so we each are what I consider one to many. One to many. And so when we talk about collective, I just want to give you a thought on how that works. And we used to use this analogy in Louisiana. Louisiana is a space and place, especially New Orleans, if you're familiar with what projects are, okay? You live in the projects. But everybody didn't remain in the projects. People exited the projects and did well. So Miss Betty started off talking about community, how the word could get down the street without a telephone. So we can do it. We have more ways to be connected and have more resources now than ever before. Don't leave anybody in the projects. Touch who you know. If you touch who you know, don't leave behind who you know, we will all be okay. Let's stop leaving each other behind or not sharing the information, at least within who's within our influence or within earshot. He just sat in this room. He counted everybody. So he's not going to leave here and then go out on State Street and try to recruit. He's in here. He's in proximity. And if we would use that same model to touch and agree, okay? I know that's lost on some of you, but but to touch and agree and do that with each other, we will all be much better off. Keeping it simple.
Ms. Betty, tell us, what are our marching orders going forward?
Each one reach one, each one teach one, each one love one, each one bring one, okay? That's what it's all about. We're in this together. We're going to win together, or we're not going to win together. So that's the marching orders today. Don't leave out of here without connecting with someone else that you didn't walk in here with, okay? And like Stanley, I want your numbers too, because I got some work to do. I'm a visionary. I look out here, I say, ooh, we can start a school. because our folks are struggling at school, okay? So we can still use some of their schools, but we can get together and start our own school. And I see other businesses right out here. And Juneteenth is coming up, you all. I need some help. Raise your hand if you're going to help Miss Betty this year. Come on. Come on. Why isn't your hand raised? Come on. What's wrong with y'all? Juneteenth, marking the end of enslavement in this country. And we get to celebrate, educate, and do some of this work, okay? You gonna be there? You know we're gonna have like 15 Juneteenths this year. I don't know why we can't just have one, but that's a whole nother. Okay, all 15 of us, they want us in 15 different places at the same time. But that's another subject with some of our younger people. We're gonna talk about that one day, but not this year. But Juneteenth, we need your help. There's work to do, and that's all I'm saying. Bring somebody with you. Don't leave them out there.
I first want to thank Eddie Thompson for inviting us up here and having this discussion, and I hope you got something good for it. And we all know what we're supposed to do. We got work to do. We're going to do it together. That's how we become successful. Dr. Sidney Shorter, Reverend Stanley Ellington, and Miss Betty Sawyer. I'm Jason Lee. Thank you all.
We want to thank our guests here. I'm sitting in the back like, this is powerful. We have 4 amazing people here. You're getting the best of Utah. And I'm just sitting here taking pictures like, wow, this is epic. This is cool. To progress us. We got to keep progressing. We got to keep moving. So we want to thank each one of you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for all that you do in the community. Coming up next, we got Miss Michaela. She's going to finish us up with a song here.
Miss Michaela, you're going to be singing at Juneteenth, right?
You can't do that until I get your membership.
I might not have the music on there. I don't know. I thought I had it. Do you see a song on that slide?
Yes, it's in there. We just can't get it to play.
Gotcha. Just bear with us for a second.
While we wait, let's give Brother Eddie Thompson Jr. a big hand and his committee for all this wonderful work, bringing us back together.
If we could have our committee members that are in here, please come on up. I think they're still working.
I'm gonna steal this while I'm in here. Good afternoon, close to evening. I'm Sister Tamara Palmer. I am the IGBC Youth Director. And first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming. It means so much to our youth in all of our convention churches to be able to, one, come together in fellowship, but have the opportunity to go to Oklahoma and fellowship on a big regional level. And so that's why we're having this event, in order to be able to provide different services for our youth. They're important to me. So But there's some people that I can't do this without, and I needed to do this. I normally don't get up and say anything because that ain't my thing. Give me a kid, that's my thing. But Corey and Frank, they've been riding with me since I've been in office, and I want to thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Angela is running the booth up there, and this don't get done without Angela. She makes sure we on time, we prompt, and we have sound check. Angela, thank you very much. And to the man who runs the show, Eddie. He do all the work. Thank you so much. This event would not take place without you. His heart is in it. It's in the right place for the right thing. And I don't know what I would do without you. So I really thank you. I'm out the way. Enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you. Thank you.
And we just want to thank you all for coming today. Are we okay with the music? Okay. We want to thank you all for coming today. This is our second annual Black History program. And we just thank you, from the bottom of our hearts for participating in this event. We hope to be doing it again. One of the things that we always looked at is how do we bring the community together? How do we do things together? Because even as we put this program together, things were just coming together. People were coming out. Oh, go ahead.
Can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out and move mountains. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter. I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out.
So we come to a close to our program. We want to thank all that participated. We want to thank our special guests, our sponsors, and all of you. If I've learned anything from Miss Betty, where do we go from here, right? What do we do? You see, we have several different groups that these folks are a part of. We encourage you to be a part of one of those groups. You got some choices. So go pick somebody. Let's go work. Let's get on the grind. Thank you all. Thank you for coming.